Hello and welcome to Network. My name is Spumelele Zondi with your technology and social media news. Remember that if you want to be a part of this tech conversation, you can find us on SABC Network. Now that's on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Use network at sabc.co.za on email. You can also use the hashtag SABC Network. Today, our Twitter poll is asking if you take online pledges. Results of that are coming up later in the program. But first, here's what's coming up in the show. Google has announced its Africa Impact Challenge winners. We went to the South Africa event. We look at plans to connect people in rural communities to the internet. And our discussion is on Durex Red online pledges. Dr. Tlaleng Mofokeng from Nalane for Reproductive Justice is here for that one. Hello and thank you very much for joining us.
Hello.
Now, Tlaleng, do these online campaigns actually work?
Yes, they do.
All right. We will have a deeper discussion about it later in the program and you'll tell us how and why. First, it's your technology and social media news. Now, several social entrepreneurs who use tech have received their share of $6 million. In South Africa, Google gave $125,000 to each of the top 4 of its Impact Challenge finalists. The remaining top 12 received $250,000. Similar events took place in Kenya and Nigeria. Let's hear from South African winners.
My name is Fortune Mgwelisibanda. I'm the Public Policy Manager for Google in Southern Africa. The program is actually part of our commitment to developing the ecosystem in Africa. This commitment was made by our CEO, Sundar Pichai, 2 years ago. We pledged $20 million to help develop the ecosystem in Africa. So we're looking at digital skills for youth and people in mid-career jobs. And we're looking at working with non-profits via the Google Impact Challenge, and we're also looking at people that are trying to make a change in the education sector. So this is part of our rolling implementation of that commitment until 2020.
Sihle Chabalala, I'm the co-founder and CEO of a company called Kweki30. I teach underprivileged youth coding, cloud, graphic design, online digital marketing and entrepreneurship skills. Because of the demand, just the Western Cape alone, we have over 23,000 software vacancies available and there's no one. So why is it that we cannot match the demand but use technology as a means now to drive social change and social impact?
Grades Match is an educational technology that enables learners to make well-informed career decisions. Essentially, that's what it is. So starting from grade 8 to grade 12, Grades Match allows learners who are in high school to explore various careers, enable them to choose the correct subjects that are related to the careers that they want to pursue in future, and also matches their current school performance to the requirement of higher learning institutions, starting from TVET colleges to traditional universities, and also help them in the process of applying and also planning for their targets in terms of subjects that they're doing.
The idea came about in 2012. There was that stampede at UJ where 17 learners were injured and one parent ended up dying. So we were inspired by that just because it was a touching event, right? Like, why does this event of learners going to institutions at the beginning of each academic year happen all the time? So it's like there's no planning beforehand for the majority of learners about what the options could be in terms of career opportunities.
I'm Derek Kotze and I'm the CEO of MLab. I think there's still a lot of restrictions for young people specifically to get involved in this economy, and I'm speaking specifically to the ICT economy, because it's based in very small nodes in our country, and we decided to reach out with our partners at the Innovation Hub to start training young people from Tembisa, from Alex and from Soweto on actual becoming developers and building these solutions for the future.
And it's often said that people in rural communities are getting a raw deal when it comes to telecommunications. This is about to change. Telecommunications companies are forming partnerships with local internet service providers to connect rural areas.
As we move to a more digitally connected world, the need for the internet access has never been greater. In many parts of the world, the internet has firmly established itself as a core part of everyday life. Yet, there remain communities and places around the world that are still offline. In some instances, these are probably the hardest locations to connect. And there are many reasons for this.
If we had the spectrum, we would have basically got there even much quicker, because we wouldn't have to be overly densifying in the urban areas. We would actually be deploying for coverage in the rural areas.
The difficulty comes in with power, with infrastructure. These communities are very remote, and it's sometimes very difficult to get to them.
Telecommunications companies say they are partnering with local internet service providers to connect people in rural communities.
We have a host of partnerships. We have recently developed the first high-throughput satellites in geostationary orbit. 3 of these cover Africa, and what this has enabled is new economies to drive a lower total cost of ownership.
We work with the health centers, we work with the local businesses. For instance, when we build the sites, we hire local people, we basically procure the cement from the local areas. We basically make sure that where we can get local support and local business people, they are basically part of the system.
Internet connectivity has immense potential to improve the quality of life. Through the use of cell phones, people in rural communities can communicate easily with people far away from their surroundings and connect with the rest of the world.
Years ago, I was on an internal flight for some training with MTN to Joburg, and I picked up the in-flight magazine and I saw an article on Bulangula. And reading it, I thought, this is something I need to do. I need to help this community, not only this lodge where Dave Martin is, but the community as a whole, because I realized the remoteness of it and almost desolation.
We didn't use the cell phones. It was just like a toy to me because there was no reception at all. But ngoku mkhulu umahluko, ndiyakwazi ukubafumana abazali bam, ifamilies zam, because sine reception.
MTN ibutshintshe kakhulu ubomi bethu, ngoba kuqala phambi koba sibe nama-towers sasingena network, wawungakwazi ufowuna, ngoku sasifowuna nobulele phezu kwebhedi nje uvele ufowuna.
Projects like this demonstrate that the internet and access to digital services can make a real difference to communities and go some way into providing socio-economic empowerment and development.
And as they say, if people have access to modern technologies, they can start new businesses and they have access to information. Now, modern technology is being used to track populations of giraffes, which are now on endangered lists. Researchers are using drones and cameras to learn more about them in an effort of saving them in the wild. Drone technology is being used to check the real populations of giraffes as they've been upgraded to critically endangered on the International Union for Conservation of Nature's Red List. It's estimated that as few as 2,000 individuals of the Kordofan subspecies may be left in Africa, out of a total giraffe population of about 80,000.
There's a very good chance that we've been seeing a massive decline for a long time, and we just haven't been paying enough attention to them, unfortunately. So giraffe as a whole, there's about 80,000 remaining, which is even less than African elephants, which are about 200,000 to 300,000 remaining.
In order to try and save them and to learn more about any possible reproductive issues, conservationists are sending up drones over one of Cameroon's national parks. This will give them visual data of the giraffe's habitat. They're also working with universities to build specialized drones to carry infrared cameras and use computer vision technology to accurately survey vast areas normally impenetrable because of terrain.
The other thing we're doing is using drones to be able to see how they're moving within the area. That's used for wildlife monitoring, but it's also used by the eco-guards who are patrolling to try to deter illegal activities.
They're also using camera traps to identify giraffe by their spot patterns and assess which animals are living in groups together. They hope that their efforts in using modern technologies will eventually discover more about the giraffe's movements and how those within the national parks interact with others in neighboring areas. It is SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. After the break, we chat to Dr. Tlaleng Mofokeng about the Durex Red online campaign. Stay with us. is SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Now, South African NGOs Sunshine Cinema and Makulu Media are using virtual reality technology to help track HIV stigma, or rather tackle HIV stigma. They've created open source 360 VR films. The films were recorded in Khayelitsha, Nyanga and Gugulethu townships in Cape Town. They're aimed at clinic workers and young people affected by HIV. They say their initial research done with focus groups shows positive results. Before viewing the VR film, 22.8% of youth respondents felt that the fear of testing positive kept them from testing for HIV. After watching the VR film, 94.8% felt more likely to test for HIV. Let's take a look.
My name is Lihle and I'm a young person living with HIV. When I first found out my status, I was so scared of what people thought of me. You know, walking into a clinic can be such a scary thing sometimes.
Lihle boy! You children of today, I don't know what you want really in life.
So I have to go.
You go where?
I have to go to check my brother.
This is what's going to give our young people courage to not be afraid of this disease, to not be defined by this disease.
I felt judged and disrespected.
There was no privacy involved. Receptionist started mocking me. After counseling.
Through this journey, I know I will succeed. I am here to bring hope to those who are feeling lost. Remember, you are not alone.
Now, December 1 is World AIDS Day. Durex is embarking on a massive campaign to help fight the prevalence and HIV transmission rates by distributing condoms and allowing people to take online pledges. While most pledges taken so far have been taken through the physical campaign that's targeted universities, social events and shopping malls, a significant number has happened through the web. Joining me to talk about the Durex Red online campaign is Dr. Tlaleng Mofokeng. She's the founder of Nalane Reproductive Justice. Hello and thank you very much for joining me.
Good day. Hi.
Hi. Now, tell me more about this campaign. Why was there a need for such a campaign?
I think it's always important to keep the work going around information, especially targeted at young populations, because we know that comprehensive sexual health education assists young people make informed decisions and better decisions for their own sexual health with an understanding of why sexual health is important. But I think it's also important to link information with services and safer sex tools such as condoms that we know are very effective in preventing both STIs as well as pregnancy.
While you've taken it to social gatherings and you've also taken it to universities, it's also been taken online. Why is that?
I mean, as a medical doctor, even I knew early on in my career that young people spend most of their time online, which is why even I started basically opening up the consultation room in a way to reach more young people with information. It's no doubt that smartphones, the penetration, even in South Africa, despite their high data costs, is still the primary tool that people use for medical information. And all of us have put in some symptom before, using the internet, before you even consult a doctor. So it's very important. Go where young people are, give them the information in a manner that's attractive to them, bite-sized information that can synthesize, but again, network, provide them with, ways they can access services literally when they do need it.
You use social media as well. Do you find that people engage when you're using social media, especially with different health issues, not just reproductive health issues?
For sure. And I think it also speaks to the desperation that people have for information, which is why a lot of the work that I do is about using the evidence, reminding people and teaching young people how to use the internet properly and be aware of those sites which are not necessarily credible but are offering information that looks, like it's coming from a medic. It's very important for young people to know how to use the internet, for example, around issue of sexual health, erotic material, cyber intelligence is a very important thing. Because not only is the information out there, but there is a lot of other, issues around cyberbullying, for example, and abuse that can happen online. So the space itself is a platform to disseminate information. It's really important, but it's also very important to then incorporate some of the interactions and assist young people when we're giving them comprehensive education on how to protect themselves on online spaces.
And now for this particular Durex Red campaign, what happens? What do I do?
So it's very important. Let's get back to basics, right? It's a very simple USSD code. You don't need to have airtime to be involved in this campaign. It's *120 *654321 hash, and that immediately gives you a message to say, congratulations, you have now signed the pledge. And that is really the first step to reminding people, consumers, clients, patients, that it is in your own hands. You need to take care of yourself first. And the responsibility for sexual health, sexual pleasure, as well as, engaging in sex starts with you understanding your own body, understanding what consent is, for example, and really just getting people to remember to use condoms properly every single time that they are having sex.
Why the decision to go with a USSD code this time around, or to include that as well?
Because you don't need airtime to do it. We have to, the context of South Africa, right? Socioeconomically, a lot of us still have Wi-Fi, but we have it in certain spaces which are limited, either in the workplace or at school or in a very formalized structure. Not everyone has that access in the rural areas, in the peri-urban areas, which is why it's important. If you run a campaign that you want to reach as many people as you can to have impact, you have to keep things very simple, and again, with the low costs of data. And in this case, you don't need airtime. It's very important for us to be able to give this information to people freely.
In the end, do you have numbers maybe? What's the end goal that you would like to achieve?
Of course, that's a very important question, right? What are the numbers? And I can tell you right now, the research in South Africa does show, even in the last decade, despite the millions of dollars spent on health communication, people are still not using condoms consistently. So it's very important to keep going. Sometimes campaign may slow down a little bit, when new sort of health problems come up. But again, with sexual health, with HIV rates in the country, it's very important to keep going, keep encouraging people to use condoms and giving them information that wherever they are, whatever stage in their life, they can be able to really make those decisions for themselves. And again, social media, online content, it has to be short, it has to be straight to the point. But the main focus is that people need to know how to actually have safer sex.
How do we ensure, Tlaleng, that such conversations in those spaces that you talk about in social media as well continue even when it's not around the time of World AIDS Day?
That's a really critical one, right? Because people are having sex throughout the year and in various circumstances. I think it's important to remember the intersections, for example, of migration, the issue of sex workers, right? The issues of young women who at the moment, everyone talks about the transactional sex. How do we assist people beyond the act of sex? So we need to understand the social circumstances that people are having sex, or at least understand the external pressures that make some people make certain decisions around their sexual health, and definitely the use of, safer sex tools like condoms. So we have to link with other campaigns. We have to amplify, and that's why social media is great, because the hashtags keep changing. You get new partners online. Sometimes you discover people in the region globally that you didn't know existed, and that's how we all amplify each other's voices, because unfortunately we don't have endless budgets. I don't have it as even as an independent medical doctor, but it is good to then amplify and sort of get on the bandwagon with the other work that other people are doing.
All right, that's USSD code again?
*120 *654321 hash.
Sounds easy enough. Dr. Tlaleng Mofokeng, thank you very much for joining us. All right. And this week, we also caught up with rapper MT, who told us what his favorite technology is.
I'm a rapper, 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 Hey yo, what's up? Sanbonan, it's your boy MT. My favorite technology is my television because it's a smart TV. I'm able to use it. I'm able to use the internet on my TV, which is something that is like dope. I can go on YouTube on my TV. I can, Google stuff, and it's got dope picture. It's very clear, so when I'm playing even my PlayStation, the quality is dope. So yeah, my television is my favorite right now.
On Media Monitor, we leave no stones unturned.
We don't have shared principles when it comes to media freedom.
From the integrity of journalists to accusations of fake news.
If anybody comes with an alternative view, he starts referring to it as fake news.
We also look at the safety of our journalists while covering stories on the field.
This is something that we're faced with daily, from journalists who say they've been physically or verbally attacked by community members.
Watch Media Monitor Sundays at 9 a.m.
SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Now, robots made in Nepal wait tables at a local restaurant. Technology giants could face hefty fines in Russia if they fail to comply with legislation on data. These are some of the stories that made tech headlines around the world.
Pilot Technology, a local startup company in Nepal, has created a robot waiter that delivers food to customers at Nolo restaurant. Customers use touchscreen to place their orders, and Ginger, the robot, brings everything to the table. This is the first fully digitized restaurant in Nepal and South Asia to use robot as waiters.
So for this, we went to China and Japan and did our research and saw the market analysis. We did market analysis about how the market is, and we saw there is a potential market in the international market for waiter robot, mostly where the labor cost is very high. So we came back and we sat down in our office, and then we compared with different robots around the world, around the companies which are producing around the world, and then we developed our this service robots here in Nepal.
3 waiter robots are currently employed at Nolo. They are equipped with swim intelligence, speech recognition and auto-dock capability, and have a big draw attracting customers from all ages. This is not the first time robots have entered the food and drink business. From robot chefs, robot bartenders, this is already a fast-growing market. Now we move to Russia. Google, Facebook and other technology firms are potentially facing stiffer fines in Russia if they fail to comply with its internet laws. Russia is currently wrestling with the challenge of how to limit the power of tech companies, and they want search engines to delete some results and messaging services to share encryption keys.
3 years ago, Russia adopted a package of legislation which would give the state greater control over the data on users that's held by the tech companies. For example, it would require them, if they're storing users' data, to keep the servers where that data is stored inside Russia, and in certain circumstances to share information on users with Russian intelligence agencies.
Under the proposed amendment, a fine could also be levied multiple times on the same company for every time it is found to have committed a violation. In addition to hefty fines, Russian authorities will retain the power to block companies' online services. Now we move to America. This week, USA celebrated Cyber Monday, which is set to become the biggest online shopping day. This is a Monday that follows US holiday of Thanksgiving, promoted by online retailers as a day for exceptional bargains. Amazon.com, as well as brands like Target Corporation, were pulling out all stock by offering free delivery with no minimum order requirement and bombarding shoppers with promotional emails.
In 2017, Cyber Monday was the single biggest shopping day of the year for Amazon, and we expect this year will be even bigger. Last year, Amazon customers ordered more than 83 million items worldwide, which is 961 items per second. Today at Amazon.com/Cyber Monday, we are offering thousands of deals on toys, fashion, home, and so much more.
Now, the Global Citizen Festival asked people to take online pledges to do good in order to stand a chance to win tickets. This week, our Twitter poll asked if you ever take online pledges. Now, 31% of respondents say yes, they do. They do the task as well. The majority of you say no, you do not. That figure is at 38%. 6% of you say yes, but you don't do the task in the pledge. Then there's 25% of respondents who are asking what online pledges are. And that's all we have for you. Find us on SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. We leave you with the visuals of an electric concept car that can shrink itself to fit into a tiny parking space. For me and the rest of the network team, have a good one. Here's that car.